Hi everyone, my name is Leonela Alejandro. This is my submission for the 2024 Ex-Aequo Emerging Artists Initiative. So the piece that I've decided to play today and talk about is Equinox by Toru Takemitsu. So Toru Takemitsu was a 20th century Japanese composer who wrote a lot of different kinds of pieces for a lot of different kinds of instruments, but we were lucky enough to get him on the guitar. So Equinox, it's inspired by a painting by a Catalan artist named Joan Miró, and also it kind of evokes imagery because of like the solar phenomenon that is the equinox that happens twice a year when the sun goes directly over the equator line instead of north or south. And so it happens in the springtime and the autumn. And basically it's the 2 days of the year where the nighttime and the daytime are equal lengths. So you have these references coming from the actual equinox that happens twice a year and from this painting by Joan Miró, where you have these ideas of kind of mirroring and mirror images. And I think it really fits into what this piece is. And I really enjoy that there are different references to pull from. So before I talk a little bit about my personal experience with this piece, I want to talk a little bit about Takamitsu in general and things that he valued a lot in his musical language. One of them that is pretty important, I would say, is his relationship with time. So he commented himself that he found the Western idea of time to be pretty interesting because it's kind of this idea that everything is linear. There's a past, present, and future that all kind of come one after the other and on the same plane. And it kind of conflicted with his own idea about time and how he approached it with a mentality that was more cyclical and kind of ever changing and ever moving, and it's just not that same mentality where you get to point A to point B to point C in one specific path. And another thing that was really interesting about Takamitsu's style when he composed is the amount of importance that he gave to the parts of the music that are absent of sound. So he gave pretty much as much importance to the rests in the music where nothing is, you can't hear anything, than to the notes that are being played by the instrument. And so it's very interesting as a listener, if you don't have a lot of experience listening to Takemitsu and his work and you're not very familiar, that, take this piece for example, there are all of these parts that you feel like are kind of the performer's decision. How much time are you going to take here? How much time until I go to this next section? But you look at the music and it's all very, very specifically and meticulously written out. All these rests, fermatas, indications, let this chord vibrate to go into the next one. And so I was really excited about playing a piece like this because especially, in the context that I was playing this in my master's recital last year, I was playing a lot of more like traditional music. I was different styles. I was doing Baroque, early 20th century, and Romantic pieces that were all like long form. And it was kind of always a battle with them, making sure that I was making historically informed decisions when playing this, because a lot of times it feels like there's a right and wrong way to play that type of music. So I needed something that felt like a very different palette cleanser between all of those pieces. And I thought this was a perfect piece for that. I consider myself to be a very intuitive, romantic player, which works to my disadvantage a lot. But with this kind of piece where it has like a organized type of spontaneity, I think it's really special to play a piece like that. And the more I performed it, the more I realized that it really varies from the type of concert that I'm playing, the type of hall, kind of seeing how the space around me reacts to the music that I'm playing, the notes, the sounds, and the silence. And to me, it's the most special part about performing is kind of that relationship that you have personally with the music and how you can communicate that with the audience. And I always found it really interesting that whenever I play this piece, the moments where I feel the most tension and just kind of like very specific directed attention coming from the audience is those moments where, I'm in those rests that Takemitsu writes out, and you feel the audience kind of like leaning in towards you and not really knowing what to expect. And I really like that type of reactive process with music, because it feels like a dance that I'm doing with the guitar and with the music, but also with the audience. And I just really love that part about performing, and that's why I love to play this piece so much. So here's Equinox by Toru Takemitsu.